start is to have everybody go around the table and give your name and serial number and rank, and so we understand why we're all meeting. Thanks very much for showing up. I know there'll be a couple of people, like my wife, who'll come at 6:30 to talk about item 6A. So my name's John Gorham. I'm chair of the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee. And why don't we just go around the room and explain who we are?
Marty Halpern with CUPOP.
Marty?
And what do you do and why are you on the committee? Just a little bit about yourself.
What I do on the committee, come to meetings.
What made you be interested in being on that committee?
Just wanted to get involved in the town that CUPOP was available for.
I'm Harvey Kleiman. I'm a physician at Yale. I'm interested in electric vehicles and solar power and sustainability issues and recycling, and that's why I'm on our committee.
I'm Lauren Miller. I'm on the Conservation Commission, and I'm the liaison to the CUPOP Commission. And I am also interested in all town-related things, so I'm happy to participate.
Michelle.
Michelle Cohen, and I'm a member of the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee, and I'm currently just a mom in town, but I am a former biology teacher. I have a background in biology, so I care about the environment, which is why I got involved in this.
Could you say your name again, please?
Michelle Cohen. Michelle?
Michelle. Okay.
Hi.
Sit over there. Good.
I'm Carissa. I am on the Sustainability Committee. I wear many hats. I guess the most relevant is that I'm finishing my graduate studies in sustainable and resilient communities, and so that's how I got involved in the committee.
I'm Nancy Polk. I'm on CUPOP, and I am surrounded by publicly owned property on all four sides.
I'm Leslie Lyons. I'm on CUPOP, and my initial interest was for the sustainability of our wonderful town and keeping public use and land appropriately designated, and hopefully going forward to make it even better.
Great. I'm Sheila McCrevin, and I'm here as the staff person for the Sustainability Committee. Yay. So I'm taking notes, including tonight I'll take joint notes. And I'm very interested in all things sustainability, and formerly I was a member of CUPOP.
You were the chair.
Many years ago, yeah, and I was the chair at one time. So that's who I am.
Yeah. Laura Ferrante Fernandez, and I'm the chair of CUPOP now, and I have a great group of people with me, and I'm also on the ad hoc committee. So
You are our overlapping member.
yes.
So my concern as a parent of a 19 and a 21-year-old kids who ask me, hey, Dad, what are you doing about sustainability? And my background is as a business person who started a number of renewable energy businesses over 40 years. So we live in town, have a lot of concerns about what's happening to our environment and how we can green up our town. Sheila, maybe it would be helpful if you would explain the overlap of the two committees and the logic.
So First Selectman Beth Heller met and spoke with Laura Ferrante a little bit about the two committees, since Laura is one of our overlapping members. Yep. And so, as you may or may not know, ad hoc committees usually are not permanent committees. Mm-hmm. They're meant to be about a year, and we're just about a year as our ad hoc committee. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things that Beth asked that we explore is the possibility that there may be overlap, and that this group might want to do some collaboration and have some joint meetings. Historically, CUPOP and the Conservation Commission used to have overlapping concerns, and therefore a series of joint meetings. Right. And there was a little exploration there. That didn't really turn into let's merge committees or anything else. It was just a way to explore where we were overlapping and pull together so that more people could get involved in projects, and we didn't do the projects with two separate groups of people. So it's meant to be an exploration, and we thought we would start with the meeting and see what everyone thinks.
Another piece of this is when we went for the Sustainable Connecticut certification, there are 9 categories plus a 10th one, which is an equity toolkit piece, communications and exclusivity, inclusivity, I should say. But a lot of those have to do with open space, with wetlands, with a variety of things that CUPOP
That we
has
have dealt
been
with,
working
we're
on.
working
So if part of our goal is to reach silver certification in the next year, i.e. get 400 points, we're at 280 right now, then there's things that the Boy Scouts are doing, there's a whole invasive species, there's a variety of things that in those 9 categories where our town can become more sustainable, working in a smart way with our land resources. It seemed to me to make sense what Beth is proposing. So we'll explore that and see how we go forward. Any questions about why we're meeting together? Okay. First, and thank you for everybody for coming and our guests. We'll start just by approving well, you have
Well, we have a
minutes
quorum.
and we have
Yeah.
minutes as well.
Yeah, we have a quorum tonight, so the minutes that we've been postponing, tabling for the last 2 meetings, I believe those were the minutes from,
I have September 17th,
Sep-
2018
Yes,
here.
yes.
Were there previous ones too? Or is it just this one?
No, there were previous ones too.
Okay.
But I think that it was the August ones.
Well, I'm ready to take any motions you'd
Yeah,
like to
okay.
make.
So I'm sure everyone has seen the minutes. You've read the minutes? Any discussion on the August minutes? So may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, okay. And for the September minutes, may I have a motion, any discussion, a motion, okay?
I was not here for the September.
Okay, you can, okay, okay, all right, very good.
Okay.
So it's unanimous, yeah.
Yeah, is that, do you guys vote, like, all those in favor and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's unanimous consent, it looks
Yes,
like.
yes,
Okay, you
yes,
got it.
yes, yes.
I'll catch on to the way you do things, all right.
So I guess item 2 is the ad hoc sustainability committee meeting minutes. Everybody's seen those?
Yeah.
Any, is there a motion to approve them? Any discussion?
I motion that we approve them as written.
Second, was that you, Carissa?
Oh, it was Michelle.
Michelle, okay, thanks.
All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, thank you. Public comment. Please come forth if you'd like to join our party. Public comments, you're welcome to.
No comments?
No comments? Excuse me?
On the minutes or public?
No,
No,
no, no.
public.
This is an
Anytime.
opportunity for public comment.
Yeah.
So anyone that would like to speak up to 5 minutes or ask questions is invited to do so.
Do you want to just introduce?
Would you like
I
to?
guess I could just say hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
I'm Kent Golden. I'm a professor at Quinnipiac University, 10-year resident here in Woodbridge. We were drawn to the natural environment. We live surrounded by the trees and the water, and just love it here. I'm on the Sustainability Committee at Quinnipiac University. We're trying to improve things like electric vehicle chargers, sustainability, food reuse, composting, all kinds of different things on campus with and without students. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to meet with you folks, and or at least see what you're up to, and,
Yeah.
and we could perhaps trade ideas or potentially work together. Apart from that, I do a lot of work for the Peabody Museum down in New Haven, and a lot of the projects that we do tend to be focused on sustainability, or at least the environment in some way. So I do lots of interactive development of games and touchscreens and websites and things like that. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you
Terrific.
for letting me sit in.
Terrific.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Welcome.
We're always looking for new members.
Yes.
New members, and we've actually had good luck at Mazzaro Farm, where I work, having interns from Quinnipiac. And in particular, we've got a lot of outreach and communications projects that we're going to need help on. So we'd love to get your input and involvement.
Sure. Yeah. If there's anything I could do, I'd be happy to.
Excellent. Make sure we get your contact information,
All right.
because whether it's internships or ad hoc projects, that would be terrific.
Okay. Great.
Thanks for coming. Recap of recent ongoing CUPOP initiatives.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Because I'm just not clear. We're here together, these two committees. When will we specifically discuss, if I understand correctly what I've heard, the concept of the Sustainability Committee merging with the Publicly Owned Property Committee? And where is that in the agenda? I don't actually see the place for that discussion, because I think that's kind of a critical issue.
Yeah, so the thinking was that in meeting jointly, we would get a sense, especially with this agenda item that John just introduced about ongoing initiatives that CUPOP have. And then the next one, which is discussing what ad hoc sustainability initiatives will be. And then perhaps maybe after those two discussions, it will start to, people will have opinions and can share them as part of the discussion about whether it looks like we have overlap or not.
Okay.
Not a formal decision tonight, of course.
Yeah.
Thought we'd maybe
But an
meet
opportunity
jointly a
to
few
express
times.
opinions.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank
Always.
Now I understand.
So would you like to explain, Laura, the initiatives, recapping
Well, yeah,
initiatives?
let's start with, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's start with Leslie, because Leslie was working on an initiative for water conservation, and she had a well problem, and so she jumped on this.
Oh, yeah.
The impetus,
Yeah, that started the water flowing.
yeah.
Literally. I haven't, I confess because of my illness, I haven't done tons of research, but I was in touch with Randy Bonacek from Aquatech, and I had mentioned to Laura, he's the gentleman, the scientist that has helped us to restore the quality of the wells in my neighborhood, as well as several others. And in speaking with him, I told him about our projects and that we were interested in possibly furthering just knowledge of Woodbridge wells, of the whole idea of water conservation especially, and asked him if he'd be willing to share some of his own experiences and information, and he was very pleased to offer that. If we so desire for him to come to a meeting, he would be welcome to,
So
to
it's something
present.
maybe that we want to do for the next meeting, invite him to our meeting, or?
Yeah, so
Possibly, yeah.
we had talked when you came to the ad hoc sustainability committee about there is an item about water quality education, that sort of thing, which is a sustainable CT, one of the actions that would gain us points. So
and the conservation, yeah. And,
yeah,
you know, I at that point, I was at least attempting to reach all households by offering just quick suggestions to use, you know, refrigerator stick-up things. And he, you know, he said he would be willing to become more involved in the aspect of reaching the community, you know. And I was thinking of possibly, maybe I'm extending it too far, but of possibly involving the children at Beecher, you know, just to, because that's where to start. And
Right,
also
and
just
maybe
to-
you could talk to Carissa about how to, you know, make that connection.
Well, Beecher has a sustainability committee that they've started. I don't think they've actually met yet, but they do have a sustainability committee formed at the school, so that could be something that.
Yeah, maybe we could become involved.
Right.
At least
Does-
to some degree.
does anyone have kids at Beecher now? Look at you, and I'm looking at you, excellent. So maybe that's a way to get connected to that group
Yeah.
as well.
Our connections right here. I apologize for Patty McEwen. She couldn't make it tonight. Her dad passed away suddenly, and but she usually does the work for, or keeps abreast of what the Boy Scouts and the trail, the high school trail blazers are taking care of, and. So this is part of sustainability too, with the paths, you know, on publicly owned properties. And I went and spoke to Guy Daniello at the Amity Bike Shop.
Oh, good, yeah.
And he said that his son was involved in clearing Racebrook, the paths there for
the Board of Selectmen gave permission for a big cleanup day.
very big cleanup.
Right.
And so I asked him if his son would be interested to talk to us about what the needs of the bikers would be, you know, how to get those bike paths started. And I personally was thinking, like, every time they start paving a road, repaving a road, maybe they could start taking a little bit of the side. You know, I don't know what's involved in that, but, you know, that's one way to start, by opening up the road a little more so that, you know, we could start having those bike, you know, safe bike paths on it. So I was thinking of that, but I think that his name is, I think, Kurt, yeah, Kurt Daniello, and he gave me his card, and so, you know, I can share that information with you.
Great, and maybe that's something that goes with, remember we had the Complete
Right.
Streets team,
Right.
which was a subcommittee of
Right.
our ad hoc committee, and it's certainly open to anyone who wants to be involved too. But we talked about the paths and the biking and making Woodbridge a little more bikeable, a little more hikeable for recreation, but also to get from place to place. And
I was very impressed. You know, I've never been down there, and he was very nice and very accommodating, very, you know, interested, you know, and just, you know, pleased to say that, you know, we have that kind of a nice business in town. So,
Excuse me, and this also ties into the Conservation Commission's doing the Greenway, the Connecticut Greenway path that's going from Long Wharf to Amity. And they have signs up, and they're mapping out a trail that'll connect down there. And I had talked to Frank on there about a way to connect the path from Bradley up to Town Hall, like using mostly public trails. And there's a way to do it with only maybe going a little bit on Pease Road a little bit. But there is a way to also create connectivity.
right.
And I have a map of that.
And is that the community council? Were they also talking about that too?
I don't know. I just know that Frank, through the Watershed Commission, I know he and I talked about it, and he brought out a map, and we kind of played around with some routes. But there's a way to kind of create at some point if we wanted to, like, you know, make a
right.
connectivity path up here for walking or hiking or biking.
So now we've named like 4 or 5 committees and
Yeah.
commissions that are all working on the
Yes,
same
right,
thing.
right,
So I think
right,
we're
right,
discovering something.
Conservation's working on the Greenway for all of Woodbridge to, like, you know, perimeter, but also within the, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so maybe if we
So-
could collaborate with everybody.
Right, right. That would be wonderful, yeah.
That's a good one. And then Nancy also
Nancy,
had
right.
some information,
Mhm.
right, about the invasive species education that we want to do, right?
There are a lot of invasive species in Woodbridge, masses of them.
Yeah.
Some of them have been sold by nurseries and are displayed in Woodbridge gardens. They look good, but we don't want them.
People don't realize that they're invasive, yeah.
You know, I think a simple way to begin would be to obtain the poster from the ag station with pictures of all the invasives. I always say, big poster, the 3 on there I do not have, but I have everything else.
Wow.
Some are very lovely, like yellow irises, and some are like bittersweet or bearberry that people really
Yeah.
know they don't want.
Yeah.
Or
Well, they choke other plants too.
those
so.
autumn olives, which
Yeah.
are marching through Connecticut.
Mhm.
But the beginning would be to put this poster in town hall and in the libraries, so people start realizing that they have this. Might be nice to talk to Amity Gardens and perhaps. I don't know if we have any other nurseries. Encourage them to stop selling this stuff.
Simon's,
Broken Arrow.
yeah, Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
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 Maybe we could get some of the students at the high school or the middle school to draw some of the pictures and make the poster. And,
Well, we already have one.
oh, you already have one?
The ag station has this
Oh, okay. All right.
poster.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know
Why recreate the wheel then?
how do we get it, or if it's still available. but
Okay.
it's very
Right.
comprehensive.
Yeah, perhaps we had to pay to print some copies of it or something to distribute.
License.
All right,
I mean, it's,
Okay.
so that's something to look
Okay.
into
To
too.
look into?
Yeah,
Do you
'cause
want
we
to
might
look
be able
into
to-
that, Nancy? And get back to us?
They all know me.
Oh, good.
All right, any other major initiatives that might overlap here?
Maybe Lauren, do you want to share what conservation, besides the trails?
Yeah, in addition to the Greenway.
The Greenway?
Open space plan is almost completely updated. And I think that's why I feel like there's so much overlap, because
Yeah.
to keep paths cleared and to improve hiking and biking paths and to make sure well water's safe feels
Right.
like an umbrella for
Yes,
all of us
right,
to take a
right.
piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Marty? No, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I guess I'd just like to add that last Friday, the U.S. government put out its 4th assessment on climate change. You
Oh,
may
yeah.
have heard about that,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you were busy shopping. But anyway, it came out and there were 13 categories of impacts of climate change. It's pretty daunting to read that report or the summary of it. To me, what we're talking about touches on all those various areas, so that's a framework that our federal government just put out on Friday.
Yeah.
And it's really worth looking at because it says that we better start working on this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's all connected.
Yeah. We're
We
in
have
dire
two
straits.
very large tracts of land that are destined for some form of development. The property between Amity and Litchfield and the country club property. And it would be nice if those concerns were moved to the top of the priority list rather than some of the others like maximum density or income, taxation, all of those things are distraction.
And those 2 parcels that Nancy's talking about, right?
Yeah, so between Amity and Litchfield, the Village Associates property, okay, yeah, and then the country club, yeah.
And this is a copy, this is the
Copy of the report.
assessment which Sheila sent around, which you definitely
Yeah, it was an email from John, yeah.
should take a look at it. I'm particularly concerned about the agricultural implications there. This was the hardest growing season for Mazzaro Community Farm in 9 years
Yeah.
because of the heat and all the rain.
Rain.
So
yeah.
this is just hopefully the beginning of
I have another, I just remembered, so I'm walking on my road the other day, and I hear this big truck coming down my road. It's a cul-de-sac, I'm going, where is this truck going? It's huge. It was Grillo Organic.
They're in Milford.
Yeah, they're in
Yeah.
Milford. So they came to pick up some organic compost somewhere. They turned around and they
At a residence.
I'm not sure, but I saw
Right.
them go by a couple of times. So it was just like, they were looking. They didn't ask me.
Yeah.
They were making, but I was just surprised that they have.
Yeah, so I was at a workshop recently where they talked about curbside pickup of organic material, so your compost material. And it's something that people would have to pay for. It's not something that they do for free, but they have said that if they said if they could get 50 customers in Woodbridge, they would set up a route in Woodbridge.
Okay.
And then people could leave their compost at the curb and
At
it would
the
be
curb.
picked up and taken
Oh,
to.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it was Grillo or a different company,
Yeah.
but it's a similar thing.
Yeah,
So,
I did see another truck also. Yeah.
so that kind of brings up, we did a pilot project at Beecher about composting. We thought we would follow that up with more education. We had one educational session at the library back October 6th, but we thought we probably need more. John has found some information about how to set up your composting system at home, which would entail you keeping your compost there. We did also uncover that there's a little bit of a hitch in collecting compostable material and then bringing it, for example, to a local farm. When you collect it from off-site and bring it to your farm, apparently there's DEEP guidelines that have to be followed. You have to set yourself up as basically your own transfer station, your own receiving items from other places. So it's not that easy. It was difficult for Mazzaro to do because of the organic nature of what you're trying to do there. But even other farmers who've offered to be involved, we have to caution them. There's lots of paperwork. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. But pick up by a group like this or keeping it on your own property are two things that
Well,
would be
we had
easier.
talked about maybe getting a grant to get the
bins.
for town residents.
Yeah.
So that, I think that would be a good idea. Or how about, could we drop off the compost at the transfer station?
No, it can't, so what's happening with the transfer station, they're in the process of, somewhere in the process of either going out to bid, or they've already gone out to bid to get a scale. They're gonna start weighing the trucks that come in. In order to put that scale in there, they're using up all the space. There's
Okay.
very little turnaround space. It's a very, all the space is spoken for inside the transfer station gates. If we could do it outside the transfer station gates,
Yeah.
that's something to explore. But the other piece of that is if you need manpower to take care of that, then we're talking about kind of, growing government to have more people on staff that would do that, or have more hours in the day to do that.
Is that scale gonna be just for demo or for everything?
It's, so the Board of Selectmen needs to make a decision, and it actually happens at the ordinance level, because right now the ordinance says what happens at that transfer station.
Yeah.
So when they consider it, they're gonna be looking at the various options to determine, the first step was to buy a scale, because you can't weigh anything until you do that. But the idea was to start with commercial haulers. So not, townspeople would still be allowed to come and dump their stuff and not necessarily be weighed. Other communities, though, do. They call it pay as you throw, and in order to reduce the amount of trash that has to be hauled, you may have heard people talk about the trash crisis that's happening, because there's increasing costs associated with hauling away trash. Recyclables cost less to haul away, so obviously if we can get more recycling happening. So those education efforts are things that the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee was going to work on, and it sounds like if we do workshops about composting.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to bring this conversation back to Harvey's question, which is, what are the priorities for our ad hoc sustainability committee, and what overlap might be? Last time we decided that the two major areas would be building energy use, because of all the investment that has been made at Beecher Road School, solar collectors, the retrofitting work that's been done at the library here, other places. We really have to get that the metrics down. Are we saving energy? Where do we need to fine tune systems, etc.? So that's one focus, building energy use. And the second is what CeeLo just mentioned, which was recycling, the transfer station, composting. So those are two high priority areas. And I guess the challenge we have is since there are all these other opportunities,
Yeah.
with CUPOP and others, we have to be careful not to spread ourselves too thin. But the more people we can get to come in, new folks, and working on bits and pieces of this, I think we can make some progress. I guess the discussion we should have then, I guess, is where do we see these opportunities? Where can we focus?
Yeah.
And where do we get the people to do this? Because we rely on volunteers for almost all of this. Questions?
So, with your permission, I'd like to just...
Sure.
And again, this is the first time I've thought about this, because I don't know why I was not fully aware of the agenda for tonight in terms of the two committees. One question I have before I begin rendering, sharing with the group my opinion and thoughts on this. I have this document that says Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee and the Publicly Owned Property Committee schedule of regular joint meetings. The implication from that document is as if, well, that's done. These are our joint meetings. Now, is this a...
So that's a draft for discussion.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
we were
why
gonna
I'm
vote on
asking.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this looked pretty, when I see it printed out, it
Yeah.
says, oh, we're meeting together at those times. Okay, so my personal opinion is that life is a Venn diagram. There are always overlaps with everybody. We can always find relationships with other people and other committees, and we all care about our town that we're in, so that's sort of a, given, I think. However, from the sense after listening to what we've talked about so far, I think it's actually critical that the Sustainability Committee remains itself. I would actually try to push to see that it become a full-fledged committee then, if there's some issue about, sunset, issues related to it. I think it's absolutely critical to deal with energy usage. It's a economic, parameter. Carissa's work that she's done with composting and recycling of food and things like that, and what you did at Beecher is, I think, really important. I still haven't given up on electric vehicle issues. For me, the fact that we can't buy a Tesla, for example, in this state, which is the most American-made car in our country, is still outrageous. And if there's any way to leverage our committee to help push that politically, I would be strongly in favor of that. I know Kent would too, as another Tesla owner over there. So those are just some of my thoughts. So I don't see right now the justification, because in terms of, you know, invasive plants I know are important, water is important, things like that, but they don't really touch upon the idea of sustainability, which is how to minimize our footprint, how to recycle things whenever possible, how to optimize energy use, how to get the town of Woodbridge to move in those directions strongly. I don't see the synergy of bringing those two committees together. So I would actually, if there was a vote going to happen, I would vote against it at this point. I don't see the benefit.
Other discussion?
Any other opinions?
Well, we have common goals, though, as far as the certification for the state. And I would hope that CUPOP could go beyond and actually enhance what the Sustainability Committee is doing. I can see our living together. It seems like we might be able to actually enhance both commissions by meeting together. That's my opinion.
One is the commission, one is the
One's
committee.
committee.
I mean,
Well, right.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Right.
what Sheila was
Yeah.
addressing.
What do other people think?
I see the Venn diagram. Like you're saying, and we've picked the two areas to focus on, but you guys are still doing water issues and the invasive species, so why
Bike
can't that just be
paths,
tied
yeah.
into what we're doing and meeting when we're covering those kind of things? Would that be better
There is
or more efficient?
both
I don't
invasive
understand
species.
actually that suggestion, if you could clarify what you just said.
CUPOP is basically doing work that would also fall under the sustainability in terms of the water quality issues and invasive species issues. So if we were doing something to try and get points for in the sustainability, then it would be lovely to have your help to do it. I mean, that's really what we would like,
Yeah.
right?
I can see prioritizing certain issues, I understand what you're saying as well. But I don't think that by excluding our efforts as well, that that's going to actually be helpful. I think, together, we can at least address our goals, with the state issue as well. And I understand what you're saying about your priorities as well, about energy, of course. Perhaps more time could be focused on that.
But I think this is just for this year, right, for 2019, and then we could revisit it in June to decide if we want to go our separate ways or if we want to, continue meeting together. Marty, what's your opinion?
I could go either way. I mean, right now we have the water and the species issues, but every once in a while we deal with, we've dealt with the
The
community
trails,
garden, the
yes.
trails, the
Mhm.
benches, things like
Mhm,
that, which
mhm.
don't really fall under the sustainability. So
Right.
I'm not sure we necessarily need to meet every single month together. That
Mhm.
might be more realistic. If when there's something that we need to discuss, might be a good time.
When is the deadline for the next, to get the 280 points up to 400?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the last week of August is when the deadline was last year. I assume it's going to be, again, the last week of August.
So,
So in the next 6
so
months.
we don't
Yeah.
have enough.
Yeah,
a lot of
so,
time.
and things have to be completed in enough
Yeah.
time
Right,
to
right.
document them and then get them up.
Yeah.
So
Carissa?
that's
Yeah, I just want to say that
the time frame.
I feel a real sense of
Sorry.
urgency with a lot of our sustainability work, and so I'm a little concerned that a lot of them, if there's so many things on the agenda items, that it's hard to talk about everything at once. So I do think there needs to be a space for both
Yes.
places to meet
Right.
separately. But I do think that there is an overlap, and so maybe every quarterly or every few months there is a joint meeting to kind of fill in the gaps and overlap, but I do think that there's there's a few things that we're really trying to work on. And I think even meeting once a month sometimes is not enough because it takes a while to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to make sure that there's space to get those items on.
I'd like to Lauren's a good example. You're here because you are on another committee and you are sitting here with the publicly owned property group as a liaison person. We have a built-in, you're the Venn diagram. So for me, that's adequate to discuss when we have to things that are shared. Because again, and Nancy, not to pick on you, but explain how, invasive species relates to sustainability. I don't see the connection.
It's one of the 9.
Okay,
area
I'm glad that was brought up. I will say for myself,
Yeah.
I want what drives us to be the issues that we care about.
Well, it can be.
Not an external list that we are supposedly responding to. As Carissa said, it's very hard to get anything done. We meet just once a month. We have big issues. We have a lot of people to influence out there. We've talked about, education, having a presence. One of the reasons I was excited about Kent being here is that he is a media expert. So if we're able to get him involved here, one of the things is how we can actually use media to help in terms of issues that we care about. So I think we need to be I'm speaking as the sustainability person here. We need to be laser focused on those issues. It's going to be hard enough to accomplish what we need to without having digressions for us. Now, it doesn't mean that the other committee doesn't have important things to work on, but that's why they're different committees in this town. And as I said, we have Laura as our Venn diagram overlap between the two. If there's ever a time that we need to work together, then we can do that.
Yeah. My only concern is I think it's very, very important for us. It's such an honor for us to have gotten the bronze award. That's huge, and that's going to open a lot of grant monies for us. Achieving the silver, and that's should be one of our goals, because it's also going to put sustainability at the forefront, will also open more doors for us. I think there were like 22 towns
22 total. Yeah.
total that got recognized, and I think 4 of them received the silver.
Right.
And so for us to Little Woodbridge to get this award, it was huge. And I want to thank Sheila and John and this committee for and also CUPOP for all their work to getting this off the ground. But so that would be my concern, at least for the 1 year. Let's try it for 1 year till June, and then if it's not working, then we could part ways, like parting of the waters.
Okay, any other concerns, discussion?
I would just have to add, I don't think there's a compelling reason to meet for the next 6 times for the rest of this year and then decide. I think it should be the other way around. There should be a compelling reason to be together, and I've yet to hear that this evening. So as I said, if there's going to be a vote, I will vote against that.
Okay. Should we have a motion?
Well, I'd like to say, the way I'm looking at it, Harvey, is I do see them as being connected, a lot of these issues, open space, invasive species, water quality, and climate change is affecting all of those. I do agree with you, we don't need an external metric to just go after because it's there. But I do think there's a public awareness piece here. People do need to understand these connections. And I'm looking at it from a number of volunteers available basis. Because if we're going to tackle these 2 major areas, renewable, recycling, food waste reduction, and also building energy use, we need more people. We need more people. And to the extent that CUPOP folks can participate and we can do communications outreach, I think we won't be successful on those 2 major areas of building energy reduction, energy use reduction, and the recycling food stuff, unless we get more people. So
Is that part of CUPOP's Like, is that your, like, agenda items in a way? Like, I know, like, for sustainability, you've kind of picked 2 things for the year to work on.
We're in charge of the community, it's the Commission on the Use of Community, publicly used property.
So is it kind of, for example, if we were like,
So
okay, these are our 2
basically-
things we want to work on, is CUPOP available to then just support what?
Everything is
or I
open
didn't know
to
if
us.
you've had other agenda
No.
items, like other projects too, that you're also working
None
on.
do.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
well, what other,
Oh, you were saying Patty was, always comes
well,
in with
they're
a
working on the trails
list
also.
of scout issues.
Right,
that-
right,
Yeah.
but
So the trail piece is interesting because, not to bring in a whole nother commission, but the Economic Development Commission is also interested in the connection of our trails go through our business district and connect our residential district. And there's some interest in looking at the trail system in town as an asset that might bring people here to visit. So the agritourism or the,
Open
you know,
space.
visit to go out, walk in the woods, take a nice, have a nice opportunity with your family members, with your whoever, and then come down and patronize our businesses and kind of put Woodbridge on the map. There's sort of, you know, there's a variety of good and positive things that can come out of that trail work. We've talked about it on the Sustainability Committee. There are some options under Sustainable CT that speak to both economic development, which is one of the 9 areas. That was I think that was the area we had the most trouble getting points in, because there's not a lot of economic development in Woodbridge. So when you can point economic development towards trails, and then you find out that CUPOP is working on them, the Boy Scouts are coming to you to
Yes.
coordinate. From the point of view of the Board of Selectmen, which all our committees, you know, none of these committees that we just spoke of make decisions. They make
No.
recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. It's a way to help guide the Board of Selectmen's work, right? Just as we talked about for composting and recycling, those initiatives, it's the Board of Selectmen that will make those decisions, but the guidance, and if we're funneling information, making recommendations, it helps the Board of Selectmen make informed decisions. So if you see our role in that respect, I know, Harvey, you're speaking to, like, what are we doing here as a commission, as the ad hoc committee? We want to make an impact. We want to make sure we're targeting the impact we're trying to have. We have to keep in mind, we have to send it all to the Board of Selectmen. They're the ones who act. So the more people in the group that comes with the recommendation, it might be that the selectmen.
Practicality though, like if there's only an hour to meet and there's like 10 items on the agenda, like we're never going to cover everything. Like even in our meetings where we have an hour to meet, we have like 3 items on the agenda. You know, so I'm just worried about like practical, how much are we going to be able to get done in a small space if there are so many competing issues at the table? Doesn't it make more sense logistically to meet separately, hash out details, and maybe every 2 months or so meet together? This is what we're doing, this is what you're doing, and like, you know, just to kind of
Or
be able
meet
to
as
tackle
work groups
more
in between the meetings.
and be able to tackle more together. And I don't know, just I worry about, again, that sense of urgency. Like we want, the transfer station's been on the agenda for about a year, and like just getting scales, like how, you know, we want to move things forward with that. So how, you know, just how many things we can accomplish.
but
in
basically
amount of
all that
time
stuff also comes to CUPOP.
comes to you too.
So
Yeah.
that's
John, in terms of your, desire to have more bodies, I mean, I think this is presumptuous what I'm going to say, and I don't think this is accurate. But if the publicly owned properties, committee was willing to give up what they were doing, not talk about benches and do all the other things they're doing, and just work on our things.
we're done with benches.
But whatever it is,
Yeah.
invasive species, well, all the
Yeah.
things that are not those 2 main issues that we talked about, if the people who are here and the rest of the people on your committee, Laura, are willing to do it, yes, then we would have more bodies working for our items.
Right.
I don't think that will happen.
But
and it's
water is,
And I don't think you should presume that, in terms of person power, I don't think you can assume that each one of us, that we only wear one hat. I'm not just committed to the water issue. I'm willing to work on the other issues as well. That's why I joined CUPOP. So, we might enhance it by mentioning our own concerns and helping to tie it in with trying to get the points. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. These are all things that are required anyway. So in terms, again, you said bodies, we can wear a whole bunch of hats.
you know, we're willing to do
So
that.
I'm just trying to think structurally. If it was this way, I could see it. Each of our groups meets in their regular time. And anybody who wants to come to the other meeting when we have, let's say, our sustainability meeting to help and participate and help us with our agenda, that's great. But if we meet together and that's the only time that each of the groups meets, then I echo Carissa again. We barely have gotten through the things that we're interested in just meeting us for 1 hour a month. And I think it will be diluted, it will be ineffective.
Can we try it for a couple months?
I don't see the compelling, I don't even see the reason to try it. I don't get it.
So, I got a couple of little pieces that I'd like to contribute to the discussion. 120 points. We can't really get 120 points between now and August if we're only going to focus on building energy use and composting, right? So we do need to do some educational series pieces, which might be the water conservation or the water quality.
Wait. Can't
and
that happen
invasives.
as two separate committees? Why do we have to be together to do that?
Right. So the other piece of it is we've had several times we've had discussions about adding people to our committee, and because there are rules about how we can add people, we've been kind of stuck, and we've been a small core group of people. We have made an attempt to get some work done in between committee meetings by having teams meet, right? So Complete Streets was a team which met in between the meetings and then is meant to sort of check in, all right, this is where we're going to try to take the next step, et cetera. So I think I'm hearing you guys say the same thing, that if we met in between the meetings as like a team that's interested, maybe it's members of both committees make up the team. So maybe there's a team that's going to meet about invasive species education, and they're going to sit together at the back table, hash out an actual, like a working session to come up with something and then bring it back to the committee at the monthly meeting. You wouldn't be taking up a lot of time. It wouldn't take up nearly the amount of time we've already taken to talk about how to work together if we got some work done in between meetings and then checked it into the larger group. But the idea of bringing along both sets of people to be contributors to those team meetings, that was where there seemed to be synergy. So that was the concept.
Well, if you, go ahead.
I think one of the distinct roles for CUPOP hasn't come up lately, but you never know, is to protect publicly owned property. I have people stop by my house trying to buy the town-owned field that adjoins us. And the rec department was determined to use the cow pasture across the street for something. Those are CUPOP issues. Those are not sustainability issues. I mean, you might be interested
they
in that,
haven't
but that's
come
not
up.
something you want to
Yeah.
talk about, of
No.
course.
Yeah, but they haven't come up to, recently to CUPOP.
We have to be.
Well, we, in the interest of
Yeah.
time, it's 8 minutes till 7.
Right.
I do think what I'm hearing is that we need to focus, absolutely, and it's hard to get a lot of stuff done. We also, as a town, want to try to get to the 400-point level, and that takes a lot of work and focus, for sure. I like the idea of having a Complete Streets type team of people that on a very ad hoc basis decide that some from CUPOP, some from Sustainability, outside people who are on neither could come and work at their own time frame, but not join together and do that to get together an activity or the metrics that we can submit to try to get points.
Right.
And that seems to me to be a way to do this. I mean, I absolutely agree that if you don't have passionate people who will put in the time, it won't get done. But I also think, to be realistic, we need smart kids from the high school that can do spreadsheets like Eva Glassman did last time. We need people that will really get down and do the work. So, is there a motion here to form? What is the motion? Do I hear
Well,
a motion?
So you do
Sarvi,
have
you
something
a
about
strong-
calendar meeting dates, and then the other piece I was going to tell you is that
Yeah.
the town clerk requires you to file
Right.
your regular meeting dates 30 days in advance of having a regular meeting. So we didn't have a December meeting for the ad hoc sustainability committee at all. So this is the meeting where we need to approve our dates. Whether they're also gonna be joint meetings with CUPOP would be something that CUPOP needs to file as well.
Yep.
But what you see on the back of your agenda that is the date that we've always met as the ad hoc sustainability, so you could just
I
do
was
a
gonna
motion to
remind you
approve
that,
those.
that we needed to do that, yeah.
Okay, well, let's have is there a motion here for our Sustainability Committee meeting dates? Can
So
we-
we're just talking about our committee now.
Our committee
Because
right now.
I have another motion about.
Okay.
what we
Let's
were
just
talking
let's
about
just
in a minute.
talk first of all. Do I hear a motion to accept this calendar for Sustainability Committee dates?
I
meeting
move
dates?
to accept this calendar as written
Is that
for the
seconded?
Sustainability
Seconded, Carissa.
Committee.
All in favor on our committee?
Aye.
Unanimous. So this is when we will meet. In terms of the combined
So now,
meetings,
I would like to make a motion that we do not combine these two groups, committee, ad hoc, commissions, that we work together
they're
whenever.
not commissions, one's a commission and one's a committee.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
very confused. I'm gonna say the two groups.
Okay.
As we've been just discussing, that we do not merge them together, that whenever there are issues in either of the groups that would benefit by bringing ad hoc people together to form a working group, that we should do this. We have a fantastic advantage of having Laura be on both of these groups, and I would hope that she would be willing to be the liaison and the overlap for both of our groups whenever we need to work together. That is my motion.
All right, let me make sure I have that. So the motion is to not merge the two groups, but to meet,
To create and not to even meet in any regular way, just to, in an ad hoc basis, to create working groups to solve any problems that we have shared overlap and interests and needs to accomplish on either side,
so to meet as working groups as needed.
as an ad hoc basis, yes.
and I think you would add to, I'd like to add, in anticipation of getting points for our sustainability goals that we're trying to achieve. I mean, isn't that the point?
Well, that's not my personal agenda, but if that's important to people, then they should do whatever they need to do it. I don't know if I can tack on to this. My ultimate goal is to make our committee, our ad hoc committee, a full-fledged committee so that we don't have to worry about it. I'd like to figure out ways to have new members come in. We have somebody who's willing to sit here for the last hour to listen to us.
Sure.
And he's not even a member of our committee, but he would like to be. So, you know, we have people who are interested in this, and I think we have some important things we have to accomplish, and I'd like to be focusing on those things.
So the process of an ad hoc committee becoming a commission is similar. I don't know if you followed the agricultural, there's a group that was trying to have an agricultural commission. It's the same process, would be to go in front of the ordinance committee, which is a subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen. They have to change the ordinance of the town of Woodbridge to create committees. So CUPOP was created in 1975. The Government Access Television Channel was created, I think, in 2011. Went from ad hoc to full. To go from ad hoc to full, it has to go to the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't want to dilute
Committee.
my motion. I would just
Okay.
want, first let's
I just wanna
deal
let
with-
you know that
yeah,
it's a
let's make that
timeframe.
a separate motion.
Okay.
Let's go back just to, do not bring us together, we'll work together when necessary. That's my motion, and I think we should just vote on that.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
So who's voting now? Just CUPOP or,
It's just our committee.
Sustainability Committee. Is there a second to that? All in favor of Harvey's
Okay,
motion?
so that was Harvey and,
Seconded by
Carissa?
Carissa.
okay, and so this will be a vote of just the ad hoc sustainability, and then if CUPOP wants to vote separately, you have a different motion. Okay.
All in favor of Harvey's? Okay, that's 4, all against? You're on it. 1 against.
Okay.
Okay. CUPOP, do you have a,
okay, I think it's, would behoove us to work together. And I think we're just wasting, time and energy by working separately So I think I would like to make a motion that we work together. So, second?
How can that be resolved, Sheila?
Well, let's take the vote first.
We need to go back to our Board of Selectmen and
Yeah.
talk to them about it.
Yeah,
So maybe that's your motion to, I don't know,
And I'm seconding it.
Leslie, yeah.
okay. Vote,
I'm inclined to abstain.
okay. Marty,
I don't have a yes or no, so.
you're gonna abstain
Yeah.
also?
I have a yes.
Yeah, okay, so 2 and 2 abstentions.
Okay, so that motion passes.
Okay,
All right.
may we have another guest?
Yes.
One last thing, just because if CUPOP is not meeting in December and you want meeting dates filed with the
Oh,
town
let's,
clerk.
yeah, I would suggest, well,
So these are dates, you could change the location. If you wanted to say that this is your meeting schedule and we're not gonna meet jointly, you'll be in another room. You could use this schedule if that's what you wanna do.
okay. So can we vote on these, make a motion to vote on these dates? Marty?
Do you like these dates?
Laura, can you be in 2 places at one
Are
time?
you gonna?
Yeah.
You're gonna
We want
meet
you
at
on our
6:30?
committee still, Laura.
She'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're stuck.
What have you been doing up to this time?
Where do you guys meet?
Meets at 6:30, right?
We meet at 6:30 on Tuesdays, usually,
And this says Monday at 6.
and this
So
meets,
just
yeah.
FYI.
But we
Talking
meet the
about days and
3rd, we
time.
meet the 3rd, I
Well,
think.
if you're not gonna meet in January, you can meet in December and have your own meeting and file your separate, completely separate from this.
Do you wanna keep them on the third Tuesday of the month then? And just change, that way you don't have a conflict for now?
What's the opinion, what, you know?
So I'll caution you that I didn't look at the calendar for that, so whether the room's available, I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
So
So maybe we should
it
accept
might be
these,
premature.
make a motion to accept these dates for now. And then we'll consider looking at the other dates once the board makes a decision,
So moved.
okay? Show of hands, how many approve? It's unanimous.
All right, may we move on?
Yes.
We have started with our discussion of the year 2 priorities. 6A, review and approve sustainable living, a joint initiative between the library, our committee, and Mazzaro Community Farm. Would the distinguished lady in the back introduce herself and
Hi, I'm Mary, I'm John's wife. And I will be really quick because I'm assuming everybody would love to get home and have dinner. And so I have a no work, no cost proposal for everybody. To host a second Northwest Earth Institute course, this one called Choices for Sustainable Livings. And it's the same model as we did before with, Menu for the Future this summer. Michelle and John and I, where there were 12 of us that met every other week for 6 weeks. This course goes for 8 weeks, so every other week over 16 weeks. We have gotten the endorsement of Mazzaro Farm and from the library, and we have the library's permission to use the meeting room for a Wednesday schedule, and also the Woodbridge room for a Monday schedule. The Wednesday schedule would have potlucks. The whole purpose of this is to educate more people in our community around sustainability issues in general. And so we want to publicize it widely, get as many people involved, hopefully have 2 tracks of this course going simultaneously. It's a course that is basically self-led, meaning the people who are in it self-organize and share the facilitation and so forth. It was the other course that we did, we all learned a ton, it was fun, it was great, and we'd like to learn more. So, we have the endorsement of the other committees, we just need your blessing to do this.
and you want to explain a little bit about the equity toolkit?
Oh, yeah, yes. And so, as part of the equity toolkit, that requires whenever we do a new initiative to fill out the first part of that, which I've done, basically saying that you've thought through the equity issues, and which we have, and so we just need actually Beth to sign that. I assume it would be Beth, or you, or I don't know, somebody.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna
Somebody
find out.
official.
It looks like it doesn't need the signature until we have the second piece together. So we've got the
Whatever.
first piece was planning and then the execution.
Whatever. But so that's done. And John has offered to take the lead on marketing, but obviously it's always helpful to get as many people involved in marketing as possible. The more we get the word out, the more likely we're going to get people to an information session, which we've organized for January at the library, for people to just come and see what is this all about and see if they want to join. If they want to join, they either can buy the book for $25 or they can take it out of the library for free. So nobody is discriminated by cost, and it's a great way to learn a ton about sustainability issues. These curriculum materials that Northwest Earth Institute puts out are very, very, very thoughtful. It's basically lots of articles written by all the lead people in the world around sustainability, and they're organized into 8 different major topics. So anyway, we just need your blessing to be a co-sponsor of this, and if so, then we'll have an information session at the library for the public in January and get the word out through the town's
We are holding
newsletter.
a spot in the newsletter for just this as soon as
Okay.
we find out who's co-sponsoring. So the thinking had been that
Mm.
it could be the sustainability and it could be ad hoc as the CUPOP as well to co-host
Absolutely, yeah.
more co-hosting there and help with getting the word out.
The whole idea of co-hosting is that the more people see that it's endorsed by more organizations, the more it feels like, yeah, there's a real thing. And also all of you have networks as well. Having, the 3 of us here, having been participated in a previous course like this at the library, it was fabulous, right? I mean, that's why we want to do it again. We all want to do it again, and we'd like to invite more people to the tables.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't there going to be 2 tracks if there are
2
enough
tracks.
people? One of which has a potluck
Yeah.
associated with it
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
the library.
Exactly.
So it's
Both at
another
the
way
library,
to
one-
expand your palate.
One with a potluck for people who want to do that, and also in part for the equity toolkit, and in part because of scheduling of the room and so forth. The second track would be on the first track on Mondays would be in the Woodbridge room without a potluck, and the Wednesday track would be with a potluck in the meeting room.
And the other thing, in terms of the equity toolkit, in order to get the silver certification, we need to apply this 3 times. So it's something we didn't really understand last year, but it's very important to be as inclusive as we can, to reach out, and that's why having 3 or 4 different groups sponsored is great, because
Absolutely.
the library has a nice network, Mazzaro has a nice network, the town has a nice network. That's really important for outreach to get people involved. And because the topic is not just food, it's sustainability,
Yeah,
all the things homeowners can do, it seems like a great way.
The topics include, ecological principles, food, water, community, transportation, consumption, and the economy, and visions of sustainability. It's pretty broad, so.
Yes.
I'd like to move to sponsor it enthusiastically.
Okay. Is there a second for that? Vote? Unanimous? All right.
CUPOP, about CUPOP?
CUPOP?
Okay. Motion to sponsor it enthusiastically also?
Enthusiastic.
Okay.
And Mary, both library and Mazzaro are on
Unanimous.
board?
Library and are already on board.
Are you the second for that one?
Yes,
Okay.
sure. Or Leslie, put
Leslie?
Leslie, yes.
Leslie, okay, you're second.
Well, thank you for all your hard work to make this happen.
Thank
I love
you.
the enthusiasm.
Yes.
Thank you. And then,
Excellent.
do
Very
you
good.
want to just modify the press release with the?
Yes, I will
CUPOP?
do that.
Okay.
The other thing that I will tell you is that for the Monday meeting, I think it was in the version that went out, the Monday, May 7th, the library is not able to schedule because the library and the center building can't schedule events because that's election day. So, yeah, so
okay.
a little modification to go Tuesday instead of Monday on that week.
Sure. For just the Monday one, but not
Yeah.
the Wednesday. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think that should be. Oh, in particular, it absolutely won't be a problem. In fact, you can change it right away in the press. I don't think we have it in the press release, actually.
No, but it
No.
might be,
No, but thank you. There won't be a problem with the library because that's in the Woodbridge room, and this is the very first time they're gonna be scheduling anything in the Woodbridge room.
okay.
They've never done that before. So that's the Monday one. So it
The
shouldn't be-
inaugural series of gatherings, that's good.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 7, next steps and approve 2019 calendar. We've done that.
Yeah.
Any other next steps? Anyone?
So I guess my
Yeah.
suggestion for our next meeting is to really take a look at where we're gonna get the 120 points. And so hopefully come to you guys with concrete information about that. In doing that, we'll probably be able to discover if there are overlapping projects and then talk about having some sort of meeting to have other people involved on the work group level, which
When's
sounds
the
like.
next meeting, by the way?
So, the
the-
calendar that just got approved for sustainability says it's in January.
It's in January,
Yeah.
not in December?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it would be that right after Christmas.
Sheila, is there a way
What
you
would
can
be the
add some more information about the transfer station? And I'd love to talk more about that process.
Yeah, so that is something
Or-
that's in front of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
There was a special group that was meeting to discuss the implications of it, and they made a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, and if I'm remembering it correctly, they have gone out, they've bought the scale now.
So could we talk about that in the January meeting, though, like not,
Yeah.
like next steps for that specifically?
So it has to go to ordinance committee, and that hasn't been scheduled, but
But not the scale, just in general, like our goals for
Our goals, right?
what we want
Yeah.
to see happen
Yeah.
with like
So-
recycling and waste and stuff like that.
yeah, and our goals would go as a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So the Board of Selectmen meets in January on January 9th, which will be before we meet again.
Yeah,
And then second Wednesday in February.
okay.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn? Adjourn, second. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for
All
coming.
right.
Thank you for coming.
Please,